Banlist. What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. Looks like the October 2021 ban list is upon us. It's ban list season, of course, and so we're bringing you the live reactions, even though we're probably a little bit behind everyone else. We were a bit busy this morning, so didn't have time to get to this, but I'm really hyped. I have actually been avoiding all social media whatsoever to avoid seeing this. I just had one text message that told me it was out, and that's all I've got. So I'm really hoping for the best. I talked about it in my ban list predictions. There are some things I do want to see. And hopefully with all the new product coming out, we're going to see some big changes on this ban list. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. As we can see, effective October 1st, 2021, the July list will remain in effect until that point, and the next list will not be until mid-January. Okay, so nothing right off the bat. That's usually a pretty good start. So let's go ahead and scroll on down, see what we can get. Please, just please hit fucking Dragoon. Like, just do what you're supposed to do, Konami. Just do what you're supposed to do. Max C is still on here. Thank fucking God. Anyone who says this can come to 3 just needs to be just committed at this point. So that's a relief. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with that. Okay. Still, oh, Jesus Christ. Konami, why are you doing this? Still nothing. Still nothing. If Dragoon got banned, it would be here. If Anaconda got banned, it would be here. So we're still going. Red Eyes Fusion at this point, what we're holding out for. No bans. No bans, huh? We're still going. We're still... Oh. Barrage? Sure. All right. Whatever. I mean, I guess this is technically an indirect hit to Zodiac Tri-Brigade, but Tri-Brigade's still good without the Zoo component. Like, yes, that does enable some additional plays and ways to extend and be able to play going second as well, because, you know, Zeus is just a broken card, but... Is this what people were worried about? Is this the actual card that needs to get hit? Now, I guess in all fairness, I haven't seen what they've done in the limited section, so maybe they're actually a lot more aggressive down there. But, yeah, okay, they banned Barrage. Great. I can't believe both Trident and Barrage went from banned to then being back at 1 to getting banned again. That's got to be some sort of record, but... Okay, not super happy about this so far. All right, we'll reserve final judgment for the end. Obviously, the limitations, there could be a lot to go with here. If there's anything I want to see before I, advance any further, I think what did I say in the prediction video? I'm looking for Revolt to get limited, Tenki to get limited, some Prank Kid card to get limited. And a few other things as well. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and scroll down here. Okay, Eva Limited. So this was one of the things that people were trying to figure out with how Drytron was going to take a hit, right? And Eva seemed to be what most people agreed upon. A lot of decks were only on one Eva anyway. Having the second at times was a bit overkill, but I mean, this does reduce the amount of negations that the Drytron deck will have when you're going for the full setup with the Herald of Ultimateness. Is this going to be enough? We'll see. I mean, Drytron's still very playable in its state, and even with this at 1, that's fine. It doesn't really change all that much. The Drytron deck can still put up numerous negations going first, so while this does put a cap on that, it's still going to be just a very degenerate deck to have to play against as a result. So, okay, I mean, at least they did hit something. So this tells me that if they hit this deck, they're probably going to have to hit... well, unless they count this as the Tri-Brigade hit, then that's going to be a disaster. But they're also going to have to hit Prank Kid too, right? I mean, Prank Kid maybe could get off the hook, but there should be some hit here to Tri-Brigade. Hopefully. All right, let's scroll on down. I don't think they'll hit Fractal. It doesn't look like they did. Meow Meow Mew. Okay, so we discussed this in the predictions video. It was either between this or Doodle Doo. I like this hit because this means that your 1-card starter Prank Kid play, you can do it once. You can either do it going first first, or you can save the Miyamamu for maybe a follow-up turn where you only have one Prank Kid to be able to get all of your combos going. It means you can't just follow up and keep doing just all the shenanigans that this card enables. It's a very powerful card, and you know, it's funny, similar to something like Striker Dragon, we're starting to see the power of Link 1 monsters like taken to the limit in Yu-Gi-Oh! And every time a Link 1 gets printed for an archetype, it just seems like game-breakingly strong. So I think this was one of the two cards that made the most sense for me to hit, so I'm okay with this. I honestly didn't think they were going to hit Prank Kids at all, but I'm pretty okay with that. I think Prank Kid's still very playable in the state. It just makes it that it's more vulnerable to some disruption. I think this is a pretty decent hit. Okay. Let's move on. Let's see if there's anything else. No more monsters. Okay. Tenki, I think this makes sense. So we've talked about in the past how the ban list is a tool that Konami needs so that way they can actually sell their newer product. And the Tenki hit to me makes the most sense because they don't want to hit Fractal specifically, and who knows, I don't know if Revolt's limited at this point either, but I feel like they don't want to hit cards that they're going to help sell the Megatins. And yes, while like Crossout Designator or some of the higher rarity stuff are the main selling point, you also have to consider the fact that when they're printing cards like Fractal at high rarity, and Revolt for that matter, it is still a selling point to a degree. Even if it's not going to be, tens of hundreds of dollars, they're still pretty valuable reprints at rarity upgrades. So Tenki to me seems like the almost sort of like a barrage approach here, right? They're trying to hit the deck without directly hitting the cards in the archetype. They're making it so that you're reducing the consistency of the deck. And honestly, I think a lot of people were in agreement that maybe this made the most sense. However, Tri-Brigade's still playable, and is one Tenki going to make the difference? I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, but I think if anything, it's just going to be a little bit less consistent, but I still think the deck is perfectly fine, especially if they still have copies of Revolt to access. So let's keep on moving down and see what we got next. If there's, anything else. Wow. Okay. So, oh boy, Revolt survived. That's an interesting one because, you only really need one Revolt most of the time if you're playing Tri-Brigade, right? But I would have liked to see it go to one. I think it just makes the deck not as just dominant. And, maybe the Tenki and Barrage hits are enough, but I still think the deck is perfectly playable. Okay, interesting, Konami, interesting. Let's move to semi-limits. They put more shit on the semi-limited list. Okay, Nessie, no one cares. Next, Malicious is still here. Joker. I was saying they could just put Joker to 3 and it wouldn't matter, but I guess they're using the semi-limited list as their quarantine zone. So fine, it's going to go to 2. Guess what? It's going to do nothing. And then they're going to put it to 3 next list. And, here we are. Looks like there's more. Why? We were so close to greatness. Malicious was the only card on this list. And then they put more stuff on here. Nessie could have gone to 3 and it would have done nothing. Same thing for Joker. Ooh, okay. Emergency teleport to 2. I believe the OCG has this, and this is actually a boost to Virtual World, which is still a deck that is playable. And sadly, this may be the most interesting change on the entire list. I think it's cool to see this card go to 2, but it only is going to facilitate a few decks. If anything, it gives these decks an additional extender that do want to play cards that are actually targets for emergency teleport. So that's nice, but I mean, again, Virtual World being the main one here, so I guess that's a consistency boost for that deck. But again, it is what it is. It's fine. Okay, then moving on to Unlimits. Are we going to get something cool here at least? Double Iris, we knew this was coming. It went to 2, did nothing, so that's usually when they move to 3. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Okay. Wow. I was getting all excited for this new ban list, and I gotta be honest, my expectations were low, and I was still disappointed. The reason for that is, I think Konami did the bare minimum of what they were actually. I mean, did they do the bare minimum? I don't know. I feel like they hit the top decks, right? We talked about that in the ban list prediction. They hit Drytron, kind of. I mean, Evo was what a lot of people agreed on, but is this going to be enough to rein in the deck's power level? It's still able to make a Herald of Ultimateness with multiple negations, which is very annoying for decks to deal with. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We did hit Tri-Brigade by hitting 2 cards indirectly where half the decks weren't even playing the Zodiac engine anyway, so fine, but Tenki is one that's in every single deck, so that's going to affect the consistency. But Revolt's still at 3. You know, Fractal is still at 3. A lot of the cards that make the deck as powerful as it is are still at 3. You just have, you know, a less consistent deck. And is that good enough? Yeah, probably. You can probably just replace them with, you know, maybe other consistency cards like some of the pots or something, or you just play more defensive cards. The deck's already playing a reasonable amount of traps anyway, like Strike and like Revolt, so what's a couple more at that point? I mean, you're just going to see your combo pieces a little bit less consistently, but I still think it's going to achieve the same thing. And then for Prank Kids, we got the Link 1 limited, but I think Prank Kids is still very playable, just a little bit more vulnerable to disruption at the very least. Dragoon's still Dragoon's still legal, rather. Anaconda's still legal. Red Eyes Fusion. I mean, I gotta say, I'm really shocked that they didn't hit a single piece of this, especially with Destroy Phoenix Enforcer and Burst of Destiny. You'd really think Konami would have wanted to pivot people in that direction to go for that fusion instead with like Fusion Destiny, but maybe that gives us a bit of a clue that maybe in a future product, maybe like El Dorado, the next Maximum Gold sort of set, maybe Dragoon's gonna get a reprint because Dragoon has only been printed in a Mega Tin last year. It's still a $90 card, and if they reprint it, then that means that that could still be a very lucrative product for them to sell. I think if anything, Dragoon's on the reprint schedule, and they're probably not wanting to ban it for that reason, and maybe they'll ban it in January after they sell some product with it, and then like that's it. Like the semi-limits and the unlimits are basically irrelevant. Like, let's be honest. I still stand by, I think E-Telly going to 2 is the most interesting part of the whole ban list, and I still think that's like pretty lackluster all around. Like, it helps a couple decks at most and gives some decks a bit more of, you know, fodder for some of their combos. I don't know if this is enough to really fix the format. I still think that all 3 of the best decks, being Prank Kid, Drytron, and Tri-Brigade, are probably still the best decks, and maybe once Burst of Destiny comes and we start getting some of these other archetypes, such as Sword Soul and the like, maybe that will give them the opportunity to be able to actually have a much better fighting chance against some of these decks. We'll have to see. I mean, obviously, it's all up in the air, and we don't know how it's going to play out, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think. This was, bit lackluster, I'm not gonna lie. I was really excited. I think a lot of people were, especially knowing crossout designators in the Mega Tins as well. I think people were expecting either some sort of crucifixion list, which we really haven't had in a while, or to bring some like really cool cards back. Like last list, we got Engage back. We got Mirage Stalio back. There's no Harpor on here, which is kind of lame. They could have unlimited a few cards or maybe unbanned a few cards just to spice things up a bit, maybe just to see what happens, but they were pretty safe with it. And, you know, sometimes they're like that. This is just disappointing. I mean, a lot of people, I think, were looking for a big shakeup just because of how long, you know, we've kind of been sitting in the same format, and we'll have to see what happens. I'm not too sure. But guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon for exclusive early one-day access to the history of Yu-Gi-Oh, the Yu-Gi-Oh Progression Series, Yu-Gi-Oh Sealed Showdown, and the history of Jank. Thank you so much again, and we will see you next time.